What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me I have some more RPG horror stories. Speaking of RPG horror stories, I am not forgetting that we still have glory stories to cover, and at some point I definitely do want to cover it. Maybe, you know what I will do? It's gonna be a good enough reason for me to get Mary and Micah to come out to me on VR chat so we can record together. But I think we're gonna go through some glory stories together on there. Maybe even have a stream of it. There's a lot of glory stories to just rejoice into, and I think I may need to do that. Give myself a nice little palate cleanser. Either way, when I figure out when I want to do this, we'll make sure to do it like do a whole event. You will know when it's coming. But for now, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. Other players make me feel stupid and useless. I'm not sure if I'm the problem, which is why I've come to talk to you folks. I've been playing multiple different TTRPGs for 5+ years now. Have been DMing in D&D 5e for over half that. And I've been a weekly D&D player with 4 different groups plus dozens of one-shot weekends. I like to think I'm a good player, but don't we all? One of my more regular groups makes me feel like I'm a horrible player, and I think it's because our play styles don't match. However, I'm worried it's because I actually do suck at the table. Here's the context. I'm a woman, and they're all men. They'll have 10+ more years of TTRPG experience than me, even though we're close enough in age. I was excited to play with them because I'd learned so much. In the beginning, it was great. However, after a few months, they started having little post-session powwows to tell me everything I did wrong, that I continued for years now. The metagaming murder hobos will solve every problem encountered on Bloodhook by killing everyone and looting. And yes, they get mad at the DM when there's consequences for such actions. I'm talking having monster stab blocks open on their phone as we're in a combat metagaming, so if my character wasn't min-max for murder, I'd hear about it. My barbarian didn't grapple enough, my bard didn't buff enough, my wizard is useless. You know, if you were to end the story here, honestly I think I found the crux of your problem. You're playing with a bunch of... You literally explained yourself in this paragraph, like I can just read it verbatim. The metagaming murder hobos will solve every problem encountered on Plothook by killing everyone and looting, and they're getting mad at the DM whenever they have consequences for this thing, and then having monster stab blocks open on the phone as that combat metagaming, and talk about how you're not min-max for murder, and how barbarian didn't grapple enough, or bard didn't buff enough, and just in general metagaming all the way through. You're literally talking to an insufferable group of people. To me, they seem very insufferable, but unless you're playing it their way or the highway, you're gonna be the worst ever. And let me tell you right now, you're not bad. You're not bad for wanting just to play a character. You're surrounded by horrible people. That's what's going on. I think out of all the groups you're playing, with a bunch of other extra groups that you're playing and different TTRPGs you're playing, this specific group, this regular group of yours, you need to quit. These aren't people that are worth the time if that's the only thing you're going to be doing. What game is fun where every single player is just metagaming and then murder hoboing through the plot hooks and everything else, and then complains to the DM, well, what consequences? I just murder hobo to make my way through, and then constantly judge people by like, you didn't do this enough, you didn't do that enough, have you considered shutting the fuck up enough? That's what you should be doing, shutting the fuck up. Jesus Christ. These people sound absolutely insufferable, and I'm already mad. Second paragraph in. Is it second paragraph? 3 paragraphs in. I'm 3 paragraphs in, and I'm already mad, dude. I'm a pissed off tiefling. This group sucks. Let me just tell you. We probably don't even need to read the rest of the story, honestly, because from this paragraph alone, I learned everything I need to know about these people, and let me tell you, they're not worth your time. You need to leave the group, not play with these people, play with other people that aren't going to be prejudging you for, you didn't do this enough, you didn't do that enough. Who the fuck asked? I didn't ask for your goddamn fucking feedback, motherfucker. Keep your mouth shut. But since there's more to read with the story, I'ma continue, but my point still stands. Here's where I think I may have messed up. I used to roleplay a lot, and pull at plot hooks the DM left for us, but because they don't and just look for the next fight, it ended up being a lot of things led by me or focused on me. I'm talking the DM outwardly admitting to only weaving my backstory into the campaign because no one else bothered to write one. Gee, I wonder why your backstory was weaved in. Maybe if they were to write one, they will actually get more involvement then. But if you don't write a backstory, how's the DM supposed to include your backstory into the campaign? Huh? That makes me uncomfortable because it didn't feel like I was making enough space for them at the table. You have made plenty of space for them. They have plenty of opportunity to submit a backstory for them and to integrate themselves into the backstory and roleplay as well, but they don't roleplay. They just want to find the next target to murder hobo and to get through the plot hooks by murder hoboing. They have plenty of space. Plenty. They have plenty of opportunity to write backstory. They just don't want to. I've asked the DM multiple times to not make me be the face or talk to me directly instead of the whole group, but he always falls back into the habit because your poor DM has nothing else to work with. Nobody else wants to roleplay except your character, and you're the only person that wants to roleplay, so he's just only interested in making your backstory be integrated into the actual story and plot for that, because the other players didn't give him anything to work with. That's why the DM is faulting onto you, because they're not faulting it to you. You're the only person who submitted anything worth working with. If I was a player where one person was getting all the cool lore drops and attention from the DM, I'd be upset. Well, they could have submitted their backstory and were more involved in roleplay, but they don't want to be involved in roleplay and submit their backstory. They just want to murder hobo their way, so they don't get to enjoy part of. Well, how can you integrate somebody into a story if the only way they approach a situation is by murder hoboing the way through all the plot points? You can't integrate them into it. If they don't care to bother or interact, then how could you integrate them into it? You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink. So a year ago, I completely changed my playstyle. No more good-aligned characters, no more issues with killing innocents, no more interacting with NPCs, no more backstory. Literally, my current character is an antisocial baker who just got drafted into war. That's it. Just here to kill and follow the whims of her troop because she has to. But in a party of 3 tanks, barbarian fighter, and 1 damage-focused cleric, I built a utility control caster, and they hate it. Their eyes roll every time I cast something that isn't fireball, and a post-session conversation on what I did wrong, and a late-night text about how I could be better build my character moving forward, and really starting to wear me down. I consider these dudes as good friends, but also want to leave the table and never hang out with them again. You should. It's fine to be friends with them if you want to continue being friends with them, but you shouldn't play games with these people. These people suck to play games with. You should 100% leave the table. Leave the table, play with other people that are actually going to be worth your time and effort to put any thought or semblance into characters and stuff. Don't play with these people. They might be fine as people in general, as most people are. Maybe they're just fine. They're just awful at the TTRPGs, at the TTRPG table. Don't play with these people. Leave the table while you still can. There's so many other games you could be playing out there and other groups that you could be joining in and not dealing with these guys. What's the point of being with them? They don't seem like they're fun at all. Constantly berating every single time after the post-session powwows just to be like, you didn't do this right, you didn't do that right, you should have made a fireball wizard instead. You're allowed to make a character that plays in various different playstyles, and there's nothing wrong with the characters that you made whatsoever. And honestly, I think it's kind of heartbreaking that you got to the point where, well, if nobody has a backstory, I guess I'll make a character that doesn't have a backstory either. Just a plain character that just wants to just go in and do some stuff and just was recruited for the war. I think it's really tragic and sad that you would devolve into having to make a character without any character at all. Like, they have no personality or anything. You just made a character for the meat grinder because nobody else bothers to make a character for anything at all. It's really sad. I brought this up to the DM. He has tried to support me. However, he's not there for a lot of the side convos about how I'm playing incorrectly. So, did I just side with the attitude towards me with my earlier backstory and lore-based playing, or is it just a clash of playstyles? I don't have any problems at any other tables, but these guys have started eating away at my confidence that I'm starting to question every little choice I can make in other games too. Clash of playstyles heavily. Don't play with these guys. If this is a problem only at this table, but not at other tables, I think it talks more about the people at your table with these guys more than anything else. If this was a problem and an issue that was happening at other tables and it happened consistently with your character, that'd be one thing. Or characters, you know what I mean? It would be one thing. But this only happens at this specific table and only from these specific guys. If it doesn't happen from anybody else, the DM has no problem with you, I don't think. It's only these specific players in this stupid game. Leave it. Leave this game. Play with other people. These people are just not worth your time. Just don't spend time playing with these guys. Hang out with them if you want to. Be friends with them. Stay, do whatever. I don't care. But this is a massive clash of personalities and like play styles, and they just don't want to play like a story-based game. They want to play a meat grinder where they just murder hobo everything and criticize each other. And that's all they want to do. Anyway, I really hope you take the advice. It looks like in the comment section of the post, a lot of people are saying that you should honestly quit them because they're just not good for you. Play other games for real. If you yourself find yourself in a situation where other people berate you or like wear you down consistently with over criticism that is completely not asked, like who asked, dude? Who asked? Like if you find yourself in a situation and other games that you're just doing fine with, quit the table. Quit your current table and play with people that are worth your time. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. DM makes his campaign about his NPCs rather than about players. Sorry for my potential grammar mistakes. English isn't my first language. Also, I don't really know how does it contain harm or self-harm. My friends started it both, so be aware. So it all started when me and my future DM were co-players in a D&D campaign. The campaign was whole about can of worms, but it wasn't great either, because most of the time we were working on Mary Sue waifu characters, but it finally ended and his friend wanted to try DMing for the first time. That's where everything started. For context, GM had his own universe with a bunch of characters, and a few of them I like a lot, so when he said he wanted to make a campaign, I was excited. So imagine my excitement when I learned that we'll have our personal classes, not usual D&D ones. More on this. My character was practically a warlock, but with a gimmick. He could leave his body into astral plane and talk to and kill souls. His patron was Anubis, actual Anubis from Egyptian mythology. First level Morrow, that's the name of my PC, had few basic spells and skills to go on astral plane. Pros of this were, his main stat of attacking is now charisma instead of wisdom. Cons are, his body was vulnerable to everyone and they'll hit him with advantage. Going to the astral plane needed to be a whole action, and his soul could die, and if it died in it, it couldn't be regained again. And his contract with Anubis? Gone. So you may think, it probably had a lot of HP, right? 15. It had 15 HP. Very interesting concept for a character, dangerous in general if you're not careful, but very interesting concept. I don't think warlocks have ever dealt with the astral self, kind of astral sea kind of pact. That'd be pretty cool actually. Like you leave your body physically somewhere, but you turn into like ethereal self and you like fly through stuff or attack at people's souls and stuff. That actually be kind of sick. So anyway, campaign started pretty well in the first session. We had a little detective story where my character had his time to shine. After that, we had dungeon-like quests on visiting abandoned labs, because setting is modern life with superheroes, which featured my favorite character in the whole setting. There wasn't a lot of her, and she did her part on working good, but the second part just disappeared. But next session was just evil. We had a training match where we had to fight GM's OCs, who will work on an evil main villain emperor. It was a one-on-one, and every time it was a baby versus nuclear bomb type of fight. That's a weird way to put it. It lasted for 2 hours, and in the end of it, had a real-life emotional breakdown. At the end of it, I told DM that I want my character to be stronger because I literally could do nothing in those fights. Every time I tried to act smart or talk to the souls, I was hit on my head. So I were given a slight buff, and now my body disappeared when I entered the ghost mode. It wasn't a full action move, and my soul had my HP, and if it died, I would transport it into my body with exhaustion. I'll spare you time and wouldn't tell you all of the sessions because I were in this campaign for half a year, but it features some great moments like whole session where we did nothing but listening to DM's OC, talking to each other, and when I tried to spice things up with a second personality, my character obtained by running away to cause chaos. DM said, it was unplanned, so I don't really know what to do. Then returned to his monologue and stated that I was captured and tortured. DM told me that he hates my character and hates that I talk only to NPCs and never to my party, because all the party members were all GM's friends and I couldn't just blend in. The only other person I talked to was a showgirl, and I still like her. Being told that my party hates me, abuse from Anubis such as extinguishing cigarette butts on Morrow, making him hit his head until it bleeds because it wanted power from another entity because he was denied for some power earlier. The one time I came up with a buff that uses enemy souls as bullets and he said, that may be too epic for you. I may be wrong, but I thought being cool and epic is a core of having fun in D&D. Being killed in one turn by strong OC and being called out for complaining about it because DM didn't expect me to fight them. I wasn't mentioned in the narrative, there were just a guy's soul who was insulting me, and I'm sure I could remember more, but he just makes me feel bad. At the end, I feel like every action I made led to me being tortured in some way. At level 10, me and that girl's characters was still weak to compare to the weakest GM's OCs, and I just felt useless. Every time I tried to come up with something or talk to NPCs, it was cut off immediately, and he also killed my character's mom. Dick move. The grammar is definitely making it a little bit difficult to read, but let's go ahead and break it down and kind of restructure everything. So you have a world where your character has this cool subclass and kind of a warlock with astral self and everything, but you're also playing in a world where the GM's OCs, or DMPCs I guess, evil DMPCs are way more powerful than player characters are. And apparently you're being blamed for not interacting with the party enough and interacting with NPCs, or trying to interact with NPCs in general. Whenever you try to do something cool as a character, you get punished for it. Whenever you try to get stronger, you're not strong enough and you constantly get your ass beat. Basically, kind of playing in the game where you're being set up for failure at every turn and nothing succeeds, and seems like maybe most of the party, at least the girl that you talk to, are basically not any stronger than the weakest enemy, the weakest evil enemy that you got. Basically, I think you guys are just being set up for failure. That's just my honest opinion. I don't think you're being set up to succeed. You're being set up for failure. And yeah, D&D should feel pretty epic. There should be moments where your character does feel cool when they're in their element, but you're not really getting that, are you? At the end, he paused the campaign and started a new one with a whole another bunch of problems. Then burnt out and said he wants to charge money for sessions. Me, as a broke ass, didn't want to pay him, so I left the group. At the end, I think he didn't want to make story for his players, but instead wanted a story for his OCs, and us somewhere at the second plan. We participated in big events, but just watched and never did something. Because of my ADHD, I was playing games while listening to him, but I'm sure if I hadn't, it would be the most boring 2 hours of my life every week. Well, like you said over here, if you guys are just watching what's going on instead of participating, I feel like, that kind of defines the entire campaign. The guy just wanted to have his DMPC's OCs just be the coolest thing ever, and everybody just be marveling behind them. And obviously, they get to do the cool thing, but as players, you don't get to do the cool thing. And the evil OCs are just way more powerful than your player characters are. And no matter how much power you ask for, you will never get it. You'll always be set up for failure. And suddenly, I don't know where the guy gets bored of the campaign and starts wanting to charge money for that. Charge money. Basically, what he's doing, he's putting on a really crappy cinema show and he's going to charge you money to be the captured audience, the captive audience that is paying for this show. That is bizarre. That is absolutely bizarre. I don't know if it's ego or it's stupidity or something, but this guy really thinks he can get away with charging to have you guys just attend to watch his DMPCs be doing cool stuff and everything. I've read some stories where DMPCs were used in some horrible, stupid ways, but this kind of takes the cake. I'm assuming I understood it in such a way, like I said, like, yeah, I get it. I'm not going to blame you. English is like not the primary language and stuff, completely fine, and grammar issues are whatever. But I think from what I understand here is that your buddy, your DM, wants to basically run a show where you're the captured audience, but also now paying for the show to just watch his DMPCs do cool things. Yeah, if I was presented in a similar situation, I'll probably just bounce. I probably just wouldn't want to hang out whatsoever. It just doesn't seem like worth my time. I would say maybe it might be good to talk to your friends and have somebody else rotate and play, basically, and DM, or find a different DM out there. Somebody that's not going to be making your character feel like a side character just for their epic DMPCs, Editor Morrow over here just chiming in that, to be sure I'm being as fair as possible, this could also be a situation where maybe a player got burned by a DM because the player would do something really cool and epic, but the DM said no, because that's going to be unbalanced, overpowered, and they're trying to make sure the game stays within the balance, or so to speak. However, I do take credence with the fact that DM wants to have players start paying for the game they're playing in, only to watch the NPCs do some cool stuff while everybody else sits on the sidelines. That just turns a game into a play, into a show, into a performance. You're not running a theater, your NPCs aren't actors, everybody's just playing game together. So I don't know where the DM gets the balls to basically charge people to watch the NPCs do cool things. I have no idea. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.